Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And this is
Wise Words for Dodo Birds. What's up, Dodo Birds? This is going to be our Halloween special. We talk about trick-or-treating, what Halloween's like in different places of the country, and we talk quite a bit about horror films. Hope you enjoy this episode, and thank you for listening. Alrighty, happy spooky holidays, everybody, from the Wise Words for Dodo Birds. I do want to start off by letting everyone know, in the same fashion that we have at the beginning of every episode where I go on a rant, that we actually don't. I want to let everyone know we don't have a third person. This is just me and Mike. We're just chilling, hanging out and talking. Therefore, there is no producer, no one to look shit up for us. Mary might come in and do it once in a while, but we're pretty much doing this just the two of us.
So that's why you're going to hear me sitting in the couch at the beginning of every episode. Sam starts us off, and then you'll hear a crumble. That's going to be a show staple from this point on until we can get a producer.
Yeah, honestly, and it's one I kind of like, because then I can just bitch about something in the beginning.
Yeah, it's I'm sure. Yeah, if anybody else has thought about doing a podcast or has done a podcast, you know that there are some things you don't think about until they arise. But it's fun. I like every week solving new problems and trying to get a little bit better. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good hobby.
Yeah. So we figured we'd start this one off, or not start it off. We're probably going to center this whole one around the spooky holidays, because this one should be coming out right up coming to Halloween. And again, no one might hear it. A million people might hear it. Just kidding. 10 people might hear it.
Yeah, 10 tops.
A million people. But
unless I could make 1 million bot accounts.
Right?
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, there's certainly ways to cheat, but then it would just feel lame.
Yeah, then what's the point?
It's like playing a video game with cheat codes. It's like, it'd be fun, but for 5 minutes,
yeah.
And then you'd be like, oh yeah, none of this was earned.
Speaking of legitimate, I'm gonna go fix the mic real quick.
Yeah, well, and so it being Halloween, or coming up on Halloween, I don't know, again, I have a million things I could talk about. We could start with some trick-or-treating stories, going all the way back to the beginning. I mean, if you want to go back really far, I'm such a mommy and daddy's boy, because I always talk about my parents on this thing, but
I mean, your parents are a big deal, or they should be a big deal. It's where your relation to humans first started. So,
yeah.
It's hard to not have a whole perspective, at least somewhat based off your parents. I think that's true for most people, even if they deny it. A lot of people end up being a lot more like their parents than they like to believe.
Yeah, well, and I'll totally 100% acknowledge that. And that's why I talk about them all the time, because in someone's situation like mine, you better goddamn, be appreciative of your parents and take on all the wisdom and teachings. However, there are people out there who have god-awful shitty human beings for parents, and some of them never even meet their parents,
Sure.
But in the case they just have terrible ones and then don't take after them and never talk about them. I've seen that, mutual friend of ours was talking shit about his mom vaguely.
Uh-huh. And
somebody was like, you should really show your mom more respect. And it was great, because he didn't get he might have been offended, but he was just kind of quietly like, okay, You don't know my mom, dude. My mom didn't even raise me, and
even if you don't take after your parents directly, doing something opposite of them is still a heavy influence. If your mom, obviously your mom's not, and my mom's not, but if your parents are raging alcoholic psychopaths, you're probably, and you choose to not do that, you're still your parents still have a huge huge like impact on who you are.
Yeah, especially
Even if it
that's
is
why.
positive or negative, your
Right.
anxieties, whatever, or if it is positive, some of your morale and such.
Yeah, well, I would say like it's they're especially an influence if like you see the damage that alcoholism has caused, and you're like, you know what, I'm keeping that out of my life. It's like, yeah, you can thank your parents for that, and you do hear people say that all the time. It's like they have a good quality, and someone points it out, and it's like, oh, well, you could thank my dad for that.
Yeah.
He was a real asshole.
For sure.
But see, in my particular case, anyways, back to why we talked about parents for a whole minute. Mine, all three of us, me and my siblings as well, got dressed up as pumpkins when we were like in the toddler stage, age 1 and 2.
That's cute.
Yeah, we all got dressed up in that same pumpkin outfit.
Yeah.
So there's still a picture of it with my mom holding or standing with one of us. Can't remember who it is because we were all adorable babies, but so that's the beginning. But like I remember trick-or-treating in Louisiana, Texas, and Wisconsin.
Okay.
As a kid. So yeah.
Which experience was like the best?
See, and that is why I decided to save this story for now, because it's hard to explain, but I'll start with Louisiana, where I first remember it, and it was always awesome because, it was totally just the vibe down there. They loved the spooky stuff, and we lived in these neighborhoods where it was just all up and down, really kick-ass, just like decorations everywhere, people dressing up spooky. It was the fucking dream of Halloween,
Nice.
The kind of stuff that people love.
Like people were really into it?
Yes.
Awesome.
And we had a neighbor where we actually got picked up at the bus every morning. We had a neighbor 2 doors down. He and his dad really got into it, and he was like a year older than my brother, who was 2 years older than me. And I was probably 5 or 6 at the time. So, we're all kids, but he and his dad really loved Halloween, and they were like dressed up as prisoners, and they had this really cool looking like jail that they had set up in their garage. It's kind of hard to explain. And my buddy came over and he was like, "Hey, you thirsty?" And he had a drink, and I don't know what it was, because it tasted like hot chocolate, but he did something to it because it looked like it wasn't steam or smoke, but it looked like that was what was coming out of it.
Okay.
And he's like, "Have a sip." And I had a sip, and I was like, it was fucking delicious, I was like, and he's like, "Here, you can keep that one." And he's like, they had a whole bunch of them. It was like this great thing. And then they gave us some candy. This was, I was 5, so he was like 8, but he just seemed like he was one of the grown-ups, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because he was having so much fun, and he just, I don't know, he was also...
He's 30% bigger than you, and so you're like, this guy's
Well,
massive.
actually, he was quite a bit bigger than me, too.
Okay,
He was bigger than my brother, too, what I mean? He was bigger than... And I was a big kid, so that was another... He was a big kid, too.
Gotcha.
But he was also just... He was like, if you meet... Like, because we met him again years later, when we lived in Louisiana as adults. Me and my brother did. And he is the same charismatic, jolly guy that he always was. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But they did like you said they did like something in their garage, like a haunted house type thing, or
well, it was more like a haunted jail because they were both wearing prisoner outfits, and it was like a jail cell, but it was like a bloody, deadly, sort of horror scene of a jail cell. No, I mean, it was more like, because they were just out for the trick-or-treaters, it wasn't like a big event or anything. It was just like something that when the kids came and like, Luke, he did different things throughout the night to like, scare the kids, or just as he and his dad, because like we came back later and they were just chilling. They just looked like tired ass prisoners that had been working all day or something like that. They were kind of just doing different vibes all night. So that was Louisiana, and that was great. My parents went with us to go trick or treating all the time, and so like, it was fun. It was like little kids, right? But then in Texas, we had moved to Texas. I was probably. And so it was about the same at first in Texas, for 6, 7, 8, 9, But then I remember when I was 9, that me and my brother, we lived in another really great neighborhood for it. I think people were a little less into the aesthetic, but like there were still kids everywhere, and there was still quite a few houses. It's just that it wasn't like every house like the neighborhoods that we lived in Louisiana, And then, anyways, we'd gone. It was great because my sister was 8, and at that time, my parents, I guess, I was growing up under my brother, and he was 11, and so my parents, we went one round of trick-or-treating up this way of the road, if you're looking at the street, go right, went that way with them when it was still light outside and everything. And then later, my brother's friends were out still trick-or-treating, and he was like, I'm gonna go with them, Mom, Dad is like, and he actually like invited me, which never happened back in the day. He never like invited me to do things with him. But it was weird because when it was something big, especially like a big thing, he was good about making sure I could be involved somehow, as long as I wasn't as cool as he was or whatever. But like he did want me to like go along, and that night we had a blast because we went without Mom and Dad. Met up with his friends partway, but we hit houses on the way and stuff.
Hell yeah!
It was a great fucking time, right? I remember. So that was when I was 9.
Okay.
And then and it was a blast, dude. It was like honestly one of the first times I'd ever probably the first time and last time I'd ever trick or treated like late at night, and it was a blast.
How late?
Man.
Because I feel like it used to go later than it does.
Yeah, I mean, it was easily,
least.
I think, after 9 when we went home.
Right?
And like nowadays, I think, and I actually have stories, but yeah, I think nowadays it's like, at least where we are, again, I was down there.
Sure.
But it's like 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
It starts at 4 and ends at 7. It's like for dinner time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is, kids getting kidnapped or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's
after dark,
There's plenty of practical reasons, but
sure. But so, anyways, the thing that ruined Halloween for me, as it ruins many things, by the way, was when we moved here. And I'll tell you why. Because to me. To me, Halloween was always this thing where it's like, yeah, you get lots of candy, we go out, we have a blast, but it's also warm.
Yeah.
And so like here, I was not a huge costume kid, but I liked, I remember there was one year, I think it was like the year before, that crazy fun one with my brother, that I took my costume off halfway because I didn't even like it, and like, kids they'd be like, what do you dress as? And I'd be like, just some guy. Fortunately, I still got candy anyways, but I was the party pooper of the night when I was 8. But when I was 10, I didn't have a great costume again that night either, but I also remember that wear a costume, that's what we do.
Yeah,
but it's like, underneath all of your big poofy jackets, what I mean? It's and also it's like, I don't know, this was maybe 2001 or 2002. It would have been 2002. Because it was it would have been 10 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just fucking cold, bro.
Yeah.
It was not fun. I was like, this is not fun anymore.
End of
Never
October
went again.
in Wisconsin, it's like pre-winter, You'd need to bundle up. I think it's hilarious as an adult that you still see slutty witch costumes and things like that, because those people are suffering.
Yeah.
They're suffering. It's
ruins
cold.
them here.
It's like maybe not hypothermia, but if you're fucking wearing nothing outside for a long time, you're getting probably pretty close.
Mm-hmm. And look, this is also, I can't speak for Mike, but this is someone who loves slutty costumes. It's not dogging that at all. It's just where we are.
It's not practical.
It gets fucking cold.
It's not practical.
It gets down to freezing in that time. Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not shaming anybody for wanting to be Harley Quinn or whatever.
But you're crazy for trying to do it here.
Dude, you're crazy. Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, that's part of why Halloween is better in the South, because the slutty costumes are everywhere, man.
Yeah.
With
no hypothermia danger.
That's what I mean, and it's because it happens here, but then, people still wind up putting on putting on jackets and stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, and you put it over your costume, which defeats the purpose.
Yep.
So I got diabetes when I was 9, and so I had like maybe a few years of trick-or-treating left, right? Mm-hmm. And like the first year I got it, or like the first year I tried to go trick-or-treating when I was 9, I got diabetes like a month or 2 before that. And my mom was like super cool. She still let me had me go out trick-or-treating, and she paid me in like ounce of candy. So like whatever I collected, and she would like pay me for it, and then I could like buy whatever I wanted, which was dope. Really, really cool. Like that sticks out in my mind as like a
high five to your mom on that one.
Yeah,
man.
very fond Halloween like memory, because all these other kids got to go out and do that. So that was cool. Did you have any like costumes that you were like stoked on?
Well, there was one. See, it ended up, and this is partly why I just gave up on costumes, because I'm not good at them. I'm not good at either procuring them or making them. Whichever one it is, I'm not good at it. And as a kid, I really wanted to be Link.
Yeah.
Link from Zelda.
Sure.
And I was like, this is a simple costume. It should be easy to do. And somehow I still could not make that happen. I couldn't get a hat, couldn't even find like proper, comfortable green clothes that looked even close to what he...
Yeah.
It was just like, this is awful.
Well, back in the day, you couldn't just like, if you didn't find it at a store, you couldn't just like Amazon a Link costume.
True, yeah.
Like... Now, if you wanted to be Link, if you had $37.99, you could do it.
Yeah. It is a whole new ball game now, and I've thought about getting like a legit Negan jacket for and a scarf, for the purpose of being him, because it's one of my favorite. It's easy too, you just put on some gray jeans, put that jacket on, and you're good to go. Really.
Yeah.
The red scarf. And carry a bat.
Yeah, Mary and I, we really like Halloween. I don't personally get super into like the costuming, but I really like the atmosphere, and I mentioned it a little bit on the last podcast, but I just like that we let our guards down and like just kind of have fun. It's like a holiday for fun and mischief and. I just love all that stuff. Mary and I would love to be like the people that host a cool haunted house when we're old. Like I could really get into that.
I could too. Actually.
Make my backyard, do a bunch of plywood and stuff, and set up something like spooky. That would be awesome. It makes me think about so last year at Halloween time, I went down this huge rabbit hole of this extreme haunted house called McCamey Manor, and it's starting to get a lot of hype this year. And so last year, what I kind of came up with, I saw these video essays and looked into the place and even got a copy of the waiver, and this place was a real life torture house. In the waiver it says you may lose a tooth, you may come out bald, you may
oh wow,
they'll waterboard.
I don't know if I'd go into a place like that.
They'll waterboard you, they'll do that, it's fucked stuff. But the twist is, this year there's a YouTuber out there named Reckless Ben, and I have to shout this out directly because it's such a good series. Because the lore of McCamey Manor is something I knew. This guy has had several lawsuits. This guy's name is Russ McCamey, that owns this thing. He's an ex-military vet. Huge PTSD, documented abuser and stuff.
Jesus. The guy who owns this house that tortures
this extreme
people.
haunt and
extreme haunted house. That's what we'll call it.
And he got kicked out of I believe it was California, and then he opened up the new one in Tennessee. So I think it was maybe a 5, 6, 7 year period when they were in California. They were actually doing crazy stuff. Now we. Fast forward to the Tennessee location, and it still has this like reputation of extreme haunt and like abusive torture house, this and that. And so he's still charging money. He's still taking tours to this day. To this day, he's still taking tours. Yikes. And so like I viewed this guy as like a villain, and like I even got kind of fired up. Like, how do we stop this thing? There's been a expose. In fact, actually, Hulu just released a documentary about this guy being a monster. It's called The Monster Inside, I believe. Okay, but this guy, Reckless Ben on YouTube, has really shed light on like the world's most scary haunt is all been fake for about 4 or 5 years. Like back in California, they were doing crazy shit, and a lot of times it was in with participation of people who were kind of into that sort of thing. Right. Like, you know, pleasure junk.
People knew what they were getting
like pain
into.
junkies and
like
shit like that.
People knew what they were getting into and actually liked it. Yeah.
And so he's clipped all these little kind of like found footage, like short horror films. If you go to McCamey Manor, you can see some of them. Some of them are really gross and not fun to watch. He's creepy.
I probably won't be checking that out.
But this guy has been running a scam. Like, so they infiltrated, a group of YouTubers infiltrated this place, got on the waiting list, because this guy says that there's a 70,000 person waiting list, and like, oh, you're not ever going to be able to even see the place, and this and that, and he gets there, and like, this guy basically just makes him carry around a barrel full of rocks, and is like, this is the pre-haunted house, like, you're not ready for the real tour, like, oh, if you think this is bad, like, and he just like makes him like bench dog food bags and stuff, and like it just basically makes him like dance around in a onesie and do exercises like a boot camp in his front yard. And then the guy is just like, please, I heard you spent millions of dollars on this high production haunted house and this and that. I just want to see it, please. And the dude is like blindfolds him and just sticks him in like a bunch of like soldered dog cages together, and he's like, this is the rat maze. It's a 2-mile underwater swim, and then once you get to the end, you'll get inside of the haunted house, and that's when the real shit's gonna happen. And
that's when it gets insane.
So it's just like a bunch of grates that he like welded together, and then he literally just stands on top of him and sprays him with a garden hose. He's just literally in the backyard of somewhere, and like, so this man is still taking money.
I was just about to ask, how much money did he put into this? I think it's
technically like donation, like for the attendees. Like you give a certain amount, but it's a donation. But like the real McCamey Manor now, like the one, if you signed up today and went there, it would just be Russ making you carry dog food around for 3 hours in his front yard to get you to tap, so you don't even see that the manor is fake.
That it's all bullshit.
That it's fake, yeah. I think it's really interesting, like, yeah, this guy, like, bought McCamey Manor LLC, and like he's taking this like fucking psychopath down finally, and it's happening in real time. It hasn't happened yet, but like he's getting close to like shutting McCamey Manor down for good, and a lot of people have tried, because back in the day they really fucked up a lot of people, like in ways that they won't recover.
I mean, that sounds like something I would, if you know.
But the long and the short of it, this psychopath now has really got like, you know, he's let his guard down. Like he's still like he's just a fraudster, and creepy. Definitely check that out. There's a Hulu documentary that sucks because it's just like, you know, increasing the legend of McCamey Manor, even though it's fake. There's nothing there. It's just like some dude's trailer park or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, Mary and I would like to do like a real, not like an extreme haunted house. I don't want to torture kids or anything.
Right, but
I'd like to do like a really like fun, spooky one.
On the note of that and what you were saying earlier, like, I think you guys have a big enough yard that you could totally set up, especially you have access to it from, outside. No one has to go through your house or anything. You could totally set up a haunted house here.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and it would have to be kind of small, especially if you did like a corridor based one where you go like through like 4, you could do something crazy there.
Yeah,
but,
a little maze.
Yeah, and or even doesn't even have to be a maze. It could just be like, you gotta do things to get through it,
Yeah.
And it's freaky as shit. Get a few friends working it, especially because you got some tall and large friends that could dress up as monsters.
Yeah.
That scare the living shit out of people.
For sure.
Especially if you get like some voice, one of those voice inhibitors, make really fucked up noises.
Yeah, I'm capable of making some unsettling noises.
That too. Yeah, right. Just use.
I actually want to work in a haunted house. I think it would be fun. Like,
I've done it.
Have you?
Yeah, it was one that was made at the old, the park here where we have the baseball fields. There was an art hall there.
Yeah. I've been through that one. You volunteered for that?
Yeah. I was working with a couple of guys from our grade who I wasn't really friends with, but I don't know, they invited me, and so I was like, sure. A couple of redneck kids.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And, the three of us were mostly working in one room, and we just tried to find ways, because we did not have the best room. It was like one of the last ones before a big one, and it was just kind of creepy in there, but there wasn't really anything to work with, like in some
Sure.
where you have stuff. So we just basically like tried to find spots to hide.
You just do cheap jump scares.
Some of that, and then there was like one because we did it over the course of like a weekend, and then there was one night where I don't know, we had brought some fake blood to like throw on people, but then like I don't know, I guess. And I mostly even was like, I don't know how I'd be mad,
Yeah.
And I guess somebody did get mad, and we had to stop doing it. But
damn,
I would say it wasn't my idea, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't in on it when it happened.
Sure.
But it was that kind of stuff. It's like you gotta, and also we weren't allowed to touch people.
Yeah.
And so that was why it was kind of a gray area thing to begin with, because this stuff touches people, but. There's some where people, I assume, they are
usually
allowed to,
waivers are involved and things like that.
Yeah, and see, no one was signing waivers to go through
and
this one.
With the McCamey Manor thing, there is a lot of like real extreme haunts that the people are awesome. They're the volunteers are not like some creepo who works at Walmart like Russ McCamey. Yeah, really sensitive. They're acting to the highest level in the house, but outside they're like, "Are you okay?
Yeah. And
do you need water? Do you need
That's totally how I would
they're
be.
there to scare the fuck out of you, but when it's done, they're humans again.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want creepers and or psychopaths.
Yeah.
In on a job like that. You want. Basically actors, good actors.
Yeah, not dudes that get off on that sort of thing.
Yeah. And even if you do, it's like it can't be in too weird of a way, you know?
Yeah. It's creepy. Speaking of creepy, I guess this is a transition. Mary and I, we've started an annual tradition of horror films. Mary and I are both big horror film junkies. I like them all the time, but in October we submit ourselves to a form of torture by watching 31 horror films, and these are not like Halloween related typically. We had a couple this time around. At the time of recording this will come out right before Halloween, but at the time of recording this, we have watched 29. We have 2 more to go, and I know what the next one's going to be, and then the last one is a film I've been pretty excited about because a lot of the people that I appreciate their opinion are also very excited about this film. It's called When Evil Lurks. It's like a Spanish film. I'm pretty excited to watch that, but we've watched 29 movies so far, and I really vetted this list, and I really tried to throw in some, not just like, we didn't just watch like, you know, technically a horror film. Like, you know, I tried to pick out the cream of the crop, and like, what do people really think are unsettling and scary movies. And because we watch so many as is, I can't really watch a bad one. Like, you know, I can't watch a 4 out of 5 and enjoy it. We had a couple that ended up
Which I'll say for the record isn't necessarily a bad one. It's just not a great one.
Or I mean, not 4 out of 5, but like 4 or a 5 out of 10. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, so we ended up having a couple that were that. Let me pull out my list here. I have a couple of standouts, though. If there's anybody listening that is a horror fan, I've got a couple of things to say about it. One movie that we absolutely loved is The Invisible Man. I think that's like the standout. Like, we did this last year too, and we had Terrifier 2 was the standout of the 31 films that we watched, because that movie is fucking crazy. But The Invisible Man is like the standout winner, I think, of this year. Unless When Evil Lurks ends up being crazy, like really, really good.
Right. So what makes The Invisible Man stand out above other ones?
So it's this film about, like, and I'm not going to give spoilers or anything, but it's a film about like a tech billionaire who has like a girlfriend in a very not great situation, very controlling, basically like kind of Stockholmy. Like this girl is basically like a pet to a super rich like tech billionaire, Mark Zuckerberg level rich guy. No, they met at a party, and it's his girlfriend, and she's like locked in a house and stuff.
Oh, so the guy, the billion, that's the bad guy.
He's the bad guy. We start the film with like her leaving. She's out. She's going to stay with like her sister or cousin.
So she's the main character.
Yeah.
Okay, when you started out, you're like, this guy has this girlfriend in a bad situation.
But I'm getting to it.
Yeah, I was.
So like she escapes like an abusive relationship, and this guy is a leader of a certain technological category, and he makes I don't want to like be spoilery. All right, I'm actually going to back up. And it's a great movie about paranoia, gaslighting, and like it's a great movie of like, you know, things are happening but nobody else believes you, and it's a great tale of like watching somebody's like sanity slowly drain as they get more and more desperate, and like nothing good can happen to them, and like, you know, like turning everybody that loves her and she loves against her, and like it's just paranoia wrapped up in a 2-hour and it has a really good payoff at the end. It's an absolutely chef's kiss film. Okay. Like, it's so fucking good. Like, the acting is incredible. There's not a lot of CGI, but when it is there, it's great.
That is important.
The premise is really good. And this is a remake of a classic 1938 movie, and then it was like redone, I think, with like Kevin Bacon in like the 80s or 90s.
Okay, I was saying it sounded familiar when you mentioned it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a legendary horror film, but they remade it in 2020, and it's fucking awesome. Okay. Another movie we really liked is we watched all in one day. We watched the whole VHS trilogy. VHS is an anthology series, so each one of these movies has several little like stories within them. So they're like short films wrapped up in one kind of overarching story. So it's there's these bootleg VHSs that somebody has procured and recorded some extraterrestrial, paranormal, like things that should not be real type things. So, and they vary a lot. Like anywhere from like game shows to like found footage of like monsters or like science lab or like, you know, like operation table cameras and like all sorts of crazy stuff. These movies are an absolute riot. They are so much fun. Disgusting at times, very gruesome and over the top. Like there is the one I like the most. So there's VHS 99 is the first one, and then VHS 94 is the first one of the new trilogy, then 99, and then 85. So they're not like in chronological, but we liked 99 the most. There were so many times in that movie that I was like, movie, stop, don't go any further. Please don't, no, stop. Like, and it just such a roller coaster of like, oh God, no, don't do that. Like,
I think it's better actually if you, especially because for listeners, I'm not a big horror movie fan in general. So it's probably better if he does go through a list. You know, for anyone who wants to tune into some. And also there will be, once he and Mary complete their...
And so that's one thing I want to talk about too, is that a lot of people say like, I'm not really a horror fan. And it's like, to me, I hear I'm not a fan of good storytelling. Because the horror films I like, I mean, VHS is a bloodbath and there's all sorts of that things, but like what good horror is a human story, is a story about people with their most primal fears. And like
I'll agree that that's definitely what good horror is,
right? But because most people think that they're not horror fans, they've only been exposed to mainstream garbage horror that brings me
jump scare shit.
Brings me to my next part of this movie list. I watched, and I've seen some of it, but I haven't seen all of it. I watched like The Shining. The Shining is a fucking mids horror film.
I haven't seen that.
It's on every single top 10.
Is it really?
Every single fucking list. You type in top horror, The Shining is going to be in the top 5. Almost always. I understand that the movie was pretty groundbreaking for its time.
When did it come out? In the 80s?
It came out in 1980.
Okay.
The Exorcist came out before that. And also, The Thing came out like 3 years later. So if you compare those films to The Shining, much better. Much better films. It's, you know, I'm not going to go on too much of a Shining rant, but like, I'm trying to make the point that a lot of the things that people, like like some of the things that people are most exposed to are fucking boring. Like,
well, and I will say, because, well, I actually have two things to say. One, before you continue your list, is that, in the defense of people who don't like horror stuff, it's usually one of two things. It's either A, it wasn't scary, it was stupid, right? There's a lot of that. And I think that that's what you're like, when you talk about shitty ones. And then there's the good ones that there's people who it succeeds at scaring them and they don't like that feeling. Yeah. And that is totally fair.
Sure.
And I would like, and to transition, like I would like to say I'm that kind of person. Cause I usually am. Like, I don't really like the feeling of being scared, of being actually scared, but you showed me a movie that I want to recommend to people. It's called Talk to Me. Yeah. Which I think it's classified as a horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That is my fucking cup of tea.
See, and that's the thing.
It's a psychological horror. It's about humans.
Yeah, and that one spoke to the human condition a lot.
A lot.
And that's all I could think about when I was watching that movie.
All good horror films should.
Yeah.
Like, one day I'll make, like, a top 10 of my picks, and they all have this element. Like, I love, like, Midsommar. I love Hereditary.
See, when you talk about your favorites, I've never even heard of some of them.
Yeah, for sure, I bet. Like, but they're big budget films, and just people don't...
They just don't get the same hype.
They're seeing Saw. They're seeing fucking...
Right, exactly. They don't get the same hype as movies like that and The Shining. Because they made a second Shining movie, I think.
Yeah, Dr. Sleep. I haven't seen it yet, but I probably will watch it at some point.
Just so you can give your critical opinion?
Yeah, yeah, and it's like... That's what a lot of people misunderstand about the genre, is that it's stupid and it's like not well thought out, because that's like what you see. That's like the pop hits of the genre. Like, if you say you like rock and roll, you don't just like AC/DC, like, or whatever, you know, like that can mean a lot of things. And you know, I like a lot of, like, A24 is a production studio that I fuck with. They made Talk to Me, and I love that film a lot because it was two YouTubers that were making shorts.
That's right, you mentioned that.
Yeah, they were making shorts for a while, and they worked on this script for about, like, 3 years, and got to a production studio, and the production studio wanted to dumb the story down significantly and make it more wide audience available. Stupid. And they would have ruined it. It would have been a 5 out of 10 tops if they went with this studio. Instead, they basically went into mass amounts of debt, got some private funding, and made it themselves with no studio. And this is not like this is not the Blair Witch Project. Like, this is a fucking cinematic, amazing shots, and like...
It is. It's an amazing movie.
And the way a movie is shot is, like, one thing that an audience doesn't think about a lot, but that's... a lot of times these unsettling moments, it's the way the camera's moving, and these are, like, things passively in the background to, like, take you through this roller coaster of emotion, of, like...
Well, and honestly, it's like it's also, again, without, because I'm going to avoid spoilers as well, without giving any of those, it's this thing, the situation in Talk to Me is something you could totally see happening.
Yes.
It is 100% like, yeah, that would absolutely happen.
The characters make very realistic decisions.
Yeah,
and
it's not people running from a killer who is obviously standing in the area that they're running towards. You know what
it's
I mean?
not fucking...
And there's no, you know, again...
Kids in the woods fucking, and then Jason, some guy comes with a machete and chops them up. God, it's so stupid.
And it's, you know, it's just played on to the point now where, like, movies make fun of that more than anything now.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, when this sort of thing first started, that was genuine horror, and it's like, I don't know. Well, and you know, some of that is based off of real horror because people go camping and get abducted by serial killers and shit. Sure,
but not in the way that they're done.
Not in the way those movies are done. Yeah, See, that's the thing. If you did, and I'm sure they have them. I'm sure you've probably maybe even seen one or two this month where, like, it's movies that it's. Because the thing about Talk to Me, if you watch a trailer, which I know Mike doesn't like trailers,
I don't do trailers.
You get the, you know, you can see that it's definitely less based in absolute reality, and it's got sort of a mythological feeling to it.
But
you could make a movie that's totally based in reality with a very real type of serial killer, you know, or something.
Yeah.
It's the Zodiac killer, you know, from the perspective of his or her victims.
If anybody is interested in, like, you know, serial killers like Dahmer or, like, things like that, I have a great movie for you. Watch Creep 1 and 2. And this is a very realistic depiction of a psychopath. He's charismatic, he's handsome, he's kind of like a nice guy, but he's deranged. I love it. It's a great movie. Watch Creep. We watched Creep last year, and then we watched the second one this year for October, and great films. Well,
and you know, you could do eternities on psychopaths and the things that they've done,
but like with movies that like with Talk to Me, because the characters act in such a realistic way, it's a really easy way to suspend your disbelief.
That's what made it for me.
Supernatural stuff.
I was gonna say, usually I'm not into that. That's usually like it's I'll watch it, but it's like the kind of thing of I'm not gonna find it scary. And I even found Talk to Me scary, but again, not so much because of the supernatural stuff, because of how real.
And
the choices that were being made and the results,
Yeah, it's more of a mind fuck than there are visceral scenes. Sure,
yeah,
there's some unsettling imagery,
unsightly,
but like that's not the main point.
No, and it's minimal. Like it's like honestly when because. Especially after watching it one time, Mike had already seen it, and a couple of those less sightly scenes came up, and he was like, I don't want to see this, because that's obviously not his thing. And as I was watching it, that part wasn't even that bad. You know what I mean? In comparison to some of the stuff I've seen, like, that isn't even horror. Like, you seen Spartacus?
Yeah.
There's some really effed up fucking, nasty scenes in Walking Dead, too.
I don't get off on that stuff at all.
Neither do I, but, like, it's like, for some reason, in the way it was on Talk to Me, it was still more cringe because it felt real. And that's not to say that what happened...
Not cringy. It was like cringing, or like
it was hard to watch. It was hard, it was like don't. But again, it's hard to go into too much detail about why it was hard to watch without watching it.
It's an absolute banger horror film. I think it's one of those films that people will talk about on their top 10 for a long time, and hopefully not The Shining too much longer. No, it's fine. The Shining is fine. It's fine. It's just a boring movie, kind of about nothing, and they coddle and baby the audience too much for my take. But that's I'm done. Yeah. We won't go on it anymore. Another standout film. Let's do one more good one, and I'll talk about some of the shit ones, and I'll move on. Okay, I think I might just go into shit ones.
yeah, do that, because I also have a little bit more before we hit the hour mark.
Yeah, so I watched Drag Me to Hell, which is a Sam Raimi film. Sam Raimi is the guy who did the Spider-Man, the original trilogy.
The Tobey Maguire one?
Yeah. So Sam Raimi had $1 bazillion to make this film. It had a disgusting budget. I hate that movie. I hate it. Hate it. It sucks.
What's it called again?
It's called Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell.
And this also shows up on people's favorite, and I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
So
this one is popular, but you're going against the grain, saying no, not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the type of thing that people think of a horror film. It's basically porn. It's not like gore porn or anything, but it's like technically a film and has zero substance. Like, there's nothing fucking happening, and anything that does happen, I mean, I don't know. It's like... Everything is just done in such a most...
Are you comfortable giving spoilers for the shitty ones?
Yeah, I can give fucking spoilers for this one.
So just tell me, like, when you say it's like porn, what do you mean by that?
I mean, maybe that's not the right way. I'm just saying, like...
porn? Like...
No. Oh. I'm saying, like, it's like... I guess, like, production, but it's nothing. It's just, like... just tropes. You're just there to, like, watch a few kills.
You're there to watch something very specific, and all the rest of it's
and
just
with
like,
no substance.
Get to what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. It feels like the
It's like, yes, I know this isn't just a pizza delivery. Let's get to it. Yeah. Or just a fixing the TV situation.
It's a horror film that it's like, I'm a horror film. And okay, so I'll give you a little brief about the story. There's an accountant. She's too nice. There's a new position coming to the company she works for. Pete, I don't even remember the fucking character's name because they don't give anybody any depth. But like, let's say Pete is in competition for this new vice new position.
Yeah.
Nice lady has to prove herself that she's for the company. So she, declines a loan extension for an old gypsy woman. I don't know if, sorry, we'll probably bleep that out. An old worldly, they're doing it. They're doing the gypsy part. They're doing the fucking stereotype. I'm not. I'm calling it as I'm seeing it. They did a stereotype for this woman. The woman's like, oh, please don't. And he's like, well, I want the promotion, so I'm gonna. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, well, you're cursed forever and ever. And blue blah boo doo, the demon's gonna come and take you down to the hell place. And it's going to be so bad for you. And it fucking.
You just call it at every corner. And it's
it's just like the kills are stupid. The character acts like a fucking moron
Idiot
the whole
choices,
time.
Yeah.
They just do a bunch of little stupid, cheap, gross out stuff. It's just the cheapest. I don't know. It's like a 13-year-old was like, "Oh, wouldn't this be cool?
Wouldn't this be a cool movie?
Wouldn't that be cool?"
And that's the kind of stuff.
And this is a mainstream horror film. It was very popular for the time. It's a little bit older now, and I understand that some of the graphic stuff. I'm not talking about the visuals or CGI. I'm not mentioning that at all. The story sucks. The characters suck. The people suck. And Sam Raimi's shots suck.
Crappy.
Yeah, it's just bad.
Yeah, no, that's probably the typical brand of horror movie that I've been exposed to, and that's a big part of why I never go and watch them on my own. It has to be a friend or a girlfriend or somebody who's like, you have to watch this movie. Kind of like you were with Talk to Me, dude, you gotta check this one out. And it's like, all right, yeah, I'll do it. But I won't do it on my own usually.
Yeah. So real quick before I move on totally, I'm just going to list off all the movies we've seen this month. And then go ahead and put in the comments below if you like any of these films or if you have a suggestion for me.
Or any disagreements too. Disagreements
totally.
are welcome.
So, first at the list, we have The Shining. We have Us, great film by Jordan Peele. Absolutely recommend that. 9 out of 10. Hell House LLC, 5 out of 10. Creep 2, 8 out of 10. Drag Me to Hell, 3 out of 10. The Invisible Man 2020 version, 10 out of 10. Infinity Pool with my girl Mia Goth. She's my new breakout last girl for the horror genre. Not given a great role in this one. Infinity Pool, 6 out of 10. Slaughterhouse, we watched that last night. That is a B film about a sloth who murders people. I had to throw a couple of stupid ones in here. 5 out of 10. It was a film. Werewolves Within. This was another horror comedy. I wanted to try something a little bit more lighthearted. This movie was garbage. I hated it. 3 out of 10.
Oh wow.
Shot beautifully. Terribly written. Candyman. This was another huge breakout film. Very, very, very popular for the time. They had a massive budget. I love the lead actor in this. This movie was about nothing and it sucked. I hated it. It was 4 out of 10. Scream 6. There's too many of these. The last one was actually kind of good.
Didn't even know they were still making those.
Yeah, Jenna Ortega as the lead on this. I like Jenna Ortega as an actress. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Wednesday girl, right?
Yes. Cool. I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it's a little bit better than your typical slasher schlock. It's a fine, stupid slasher. We watched The Blackening, which was a African American focused horror comedy. I loved that one. That was a great time. It was 7. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It could have maybe even been an 8 in hindsight. It was a lot of fun to watch. VHS 94. We talked about that a little bit. 8 out of 10. VHS 99. 9 out of 10. VHS 85, 8 out of 10. All bangers. 30 Miles from Nowhere is a film that was filmed 30 minutes or half like an hour from where Sam and I are. We're in in neighboring counties to this film, so it was cool to see a horror film take place in a place I'm kind of familiar with. It was a great film. It was 8 out of 10. Knock at the Cabin has Dave Bautista. Drax is the next film. Okay. That's a 7 out of 10. This was a really good film with unexpected twists. You think you know what's going on in the whole film, and they're going to keep you shifting that. That's a great film. Evil Dead Rise, it was my second favorite probably film of this season, or I guess like third. This is a great film, not super complex or deep. There's not a lot of psychological horror. It's just it's a possession film, and it's done beautifully, and the lead actress mother who becomes like the demon is so creepy, with one of my favorite lines in horror films ever now, that mommy's with the maggots now. I did it terribly, but that fucking line creeps me out. We watched Host. Host was a horror film filmed during COVID. So they filmed it all over Zoom. It's actually a banger. I thought that this was going to be like a shit film. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's crazy. It's like only 56 minutes.
Okay.
It's awesome. Deadstream is a film about like a Twitch-esque streamer who lost his sponsorships. After 2 years, now he's going to do a haunted house overnight. First, like, welcome back stream. And he actually encounters some paranormal stuff, and it's awesome. It's so much fun that he just has like the GoPro set up on him, and like this movie's an absolute riot. You'll have a great time with it. Because he's like a Mr. Beast type character, so he's like a fun, charismatic, like, oh guys, should I look into the spooky like room, and like, oh, whoa, and then they're like, he'll actually freak out, like, what the fuck, he tries to like keep it like PG too, so he doesn't lose his sponsorships. We watched Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. I wanted to like this movie more than I actually did. It was just a modern retelling in an African American context of Frankenstein. It was well done. 5 out of 10 on that one. Talk to Me, 10 out of 10. We talked about that. Watched that film. Skinamarink. Maybe I'll come back to that one. We watched Cobweb last night. Awesome film. You don't know what's going on. It has the actor from he's Homelander in The Boys. He's a great villain, mean guy, awesome actor. We watched Trick or Treat, 6.5. We gave Cobweb a 9 out of 10. Trick or Treat, 6.5 out of 10. Fun Halloween film. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies has Pete Davidson in it. It's a fun film about teenage drug use and paranoia and a crazy night going awry. It's a fun film. 7 out of 10. The Empty Man, 8 out of 10. I'm not going to go too much into that one. That's a really mysterious one if you like Eastern Indian kind of folklore, mystery type movies. Totally Killer is a new film, 2023. We watched that last night as well. We gave that a 7 out of 10. It's a fun, cheesy slasher. This is the type of thing that your Friday the 13th Gen Xers would like. We saw Saw 10, Saw X in theaters. That was, it's probably the best Saw film. It's a 7 out of 10 for me, because you can't really do much with that franchise. It's a good Saw film, and it's a pretty good movie in general. They have Tobin Bell back as Jigsaw, and he is the only reason why anybody likes that franchise. He's an incredible actor. But it's Saw. We all know what it is. Influencer is the final one on this list before I come back to Skinamarink. And Influencer is fine. It's 6 out of 10. They have a couple of twists. It's a pretty stupid slasher, though. This was also a more recent film. It's fun. They're fine. Like, anything I give above a 5 is worth a watch. But, you know, I'm holding everything at such a high standard. And I'm gonna... One last one. I swear I'll stop talking about horror films. But Skinamarink is one of the most polarizing films I've ever seen in my life. I can't tell if this is a absolutely genius movie or it's nothing. I can't tell if I love or hate this film.
Why?
I don't know. It's a movie that not much happens, and I've said that a couple of times this episode, but like, the shots are vague and dreamlike and staticky and grainy at times, and like the audio is scuffed and panned in strange ways. It's like a bad dream the whole time, and this is not like you're watching everything in like static basically the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like that. So then what makes it good?
It's sufficiently creepy. And if you really dive into this film, there is a kind of crazy story going on, but you have to be paying the fuck attention. You have to be watching this film closely. I watched it like 1.5 times because I had to like go back to the second half after I got done with it, and I was like, huh. Was that awesome, or did I get scammed? Like, it's the type of thing that people are either going to think it's 3 out of, or like a 1 out of 10, or like a 8 or a 9. I love this movie too because it was shot indie, and it did get a kind of a wide release in cinema, but this movie was made for like 20 grand, which is fucking awesome. And yeah, it's Skinamarink. You'll either love it or hate it. I don't know which one I like or which one it is for me, but it's a really interesting, it's a different one if you want a different one for your list. But I'm going to stop with horror films. Thank you for listening to that rant. I hope I can actually impart some knowledge for people that want to branch out into the horror genre. Yeah, and maybe I'll even put my list ratings in the comments for you guys.
Well, and all this talk of it did remind me of something, but see, I wish I had the story fresh in my head.
Yeah.
But all this talk of it has reminded me of something that I heard about like a year or two ago, and I heard about it then, but it happened way before, and this will be a good creepy note to kind of end on.
Sure.
The story, and they might have even made a movie about this, but I don't know how accurate the movie, or if this was even... Because I just looked it up, and they do have a movie called The Smiling Man, but I don't know if it's about this. So have you seen it? Okay.
I watched a movie called Smile. It might be about the same thing.
No. I saw Smile, and that's the thing. When I saw Smile, I thought it was going to be about the Smiling Man.
Okay.
And then it had nothing to do with it. But they did make... So this movie, I could be describing a movie here, but this was apparently all based on true stuff. Like the infographic show did a piece on this, and that's where I get a lot of my information on it. And it was apparently this guy, and like unconnected sources on the internet were talking about this on Craigslist. Like this guy who they don't even know if he's like fucking real, I guess, or like if it's all the same guy.
Tell it to me like a folklore. Like, lay out the story for me.
So one dude just saw, he was just doing his usual thing, you know. Then he goes out and okay, the first guy that saw him like standing across from his apartment, just staring up at his window with the big creepy ass smile on his face, right?
Yeah.
That in itself is creepy enough. And then like I guess he saw the guy again later, or was that it was because the second I can't remember all the stories, but so then there was I think it was 3 different stories, because the second guy was out for a run, and that he saw the Smiling Man, and the Smiling Man would get that run and just start dead sprinting at the guy.
Yeah.
And the guy just fucking booked for blocks and blocks. Apparently he was in good shape, like, and he was able to get away from him, but like never caught him. And then like there was a third guy who said that the smiling man actually had a weapon and was like chasing him, but he like never catches anybody.
So was this like a creepy pasta, or do you know what I mean by that?
No.
So like an internet urban legend?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But
It's
but like some people swear.
and yeah, and it's like they swear this happened to him, and that they're not even sure that it's the same person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That somebody was like, something very similar happened to me.
See, with some of those like creepypasta viral little short stories, some of these things get on Reddit or the internet and stuff, and then people will start doing it.
Right.
Like
the clown thing.
Yeah. That was a big trend.
That kind of stuff, yeah.
Are you familiar with Slender Man?
Yeah, it's a video game, isn't it?
Right, but that's a creepypasta. It's a short internet story, and that one had real life consequences. They're
Really?
actually in Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Really?
I believe it's Waukesha. I know it's for sure in Wisconsin, not eons away from us. There were like two girls that like brought another friend from school into the woods and like killed her, or tried to kill her. She survived. Thankfully, she survived. Those and tried to like stab her like a fucking ton of times for Slender Man, and said that they were gonna like summon him, and like they were like really brainwashed from these
Holy
creepy
shit.
stories.
See, that's fucked up, man.
So like this.
If you want to be afraid of something this October, think about that when you go to sleep at night.
Yeah, like, so the smiling man could have been like some dude who thinks he's gonna like fucking creep people out and actually started jogging. Like the first one could have been a fake a fake occurrence, but then it got manifested by creepos.
That's
like,
definitely, I remember that with the clowns.
Yeah,
like
dude.
Some people were, dressing up as clowns. This was a few years back or whatever. Holding weapons in public, but not doing anything to anybody, just looking
we talked
creepy.
about that a little bit last time.
Yeah.
Has there been any other, like, in Louisiana, were there any, like, local legends, like folklore, because like this area we have a rich Native American tradition, so the Wendigo or like the Skinwalker is kind of a prevalent kind of like
I can't think of anything in Louisiana. That's not to say there aren't any, just none that I ever.
Yeah, like the Mothman or something like that.
Right, I was gonna say everyone knows the Mothman out of West Virginia.
There wasn't any local legends. Because, like, okay, there's a local legend even close to here. We've heard a couple of, every town has, like, their spooky story or whatever. But, that's how, like, those little lores start, is, like, on a local level and then, like, spread out and grow, like,
like wildfire in some cases. And it gets people hurt.
But it's slow over generations. Like Mothman had to be a lot of people telling that story for it to be a cultural, for it to become such a big thing. Yeah, before the internet, or like the Wendigo is the Skinwalker is a legend from hundreds of years ago, and people still talk about it, Yeah. I've got one more story if you've got nothing else.
Yeah, no, I'm Halloween's not my biggest time of year. Or at least, you're definitely the horror guy,
Yeah. And I hope we didn't lay it on too thick. This is not going to be a horror podcast or anything. I don't like to bring it up in everyday conversation too much, so I wanted to take this opportunity
this is perfect.
To tell my opinion, because I'm very passionate about it. I think
we talked about Israel last time, so we can talk about happy, or I guess horror isn't always happier, but lighter hearted.
Yeah. Well, it's all things that scare us and give us anxiety, but with horror, I can choose it.
It's an escape. It's a little different.
That's exactly what it is. It's an escape from...
Whereas there's real life horror, and then there's
okay. So I came to
enjoy.
this conclusion the other day that like I'm such a fan of extreme media in kind of all forms. Like I like horror films. I like loud music. I like all these extremes because they're escapes. Like violent music or stuff like that. Like they're escapes from like. It's an outlet for anger, or it's an outlet for your fears, it's an outlet for your anxieties, is like to put them, to like kind of go through a small little like therapy. Like if I'm anxious about something, I watch a movie that's very anxious. I'm not anxious about the thing I was thinking about. I'm thinking about whatever it was,
Right.
It's kind of like a means of therapy or a way for you to expel your emotions.
For sure. I mean, that's how I think in one of our first podcasts, maybe I even said something about how it's just nice to watch things and be like, it's also good to be like, my life could be so much worse right now.
Yeah.
That's definitely, not always the way people think, but it's an escape.
So I had a real life story, and I think we'll end here. I have a real life story, and I'm debating if I should say where it was or not. I think I'm going to say no. But there is kind of a famous paranormal hotspot, haunted house, within an hour or two from my house. I went there for the first time when I was like 16. Very religious at the time, so I was with other religious people, and we go there, and it's just kind of like you have to trudge through this big property. You have to cross a couple of fences. There's like a stream, and then you go to like this house that had like these murders happen, and these are documented. They're real murders, and it was like, oh, that's kind of kooky, whatever. It was like a fun little like thing to do with my ex's family and stuff.
Sure.
And then I went when I was like 17 or 18, and it was me, a friend, and then my ex, and we crossed this fence that is like pretty much like stomped down. So it's like a chain link fence, and it's kind of like bowed down, and you get over this fence, and it like makes a bunch of noise, but like on top of this fence that you climb over, you're like at a hill, and then you can see down into the valley of this house. We're like, whoa, there's a fucking fire there. And keep in mind that on the way into this place, there's a bunch of like pentagrams and Latin and things of that sort. But I just think that this is graffiti. It's kid stuff. They're having fun. Spooky, blah, 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 doo-doo-doo. This was one of the most shocking things. I kind of want to like make this a short film. One of the most shocking things I've ever seen in my life, honestly, is like I look over the hill and there's a bonfire and people like in black clothing garb, like cloaks, and like actually chanting like seance type shit.
That's
around. It was like not a bunch of people. It's not like 50 people.
Still,
it was like 6 people.
That's still creepy.
Yeah, like adults too.
Yeah.
Like in like black cloaks and stuff. And there was a fucking like ram's head straight up staked in the middle of this fire. Like, I tell people this story and people want to not believe me. I talked to another person about this house, and he was like, I went there once and he saw another like occurrence of a ram's head being burned there. This was prior. He saw the remnants of a bonfire and like skulls.
Yeah.
Like, so at what
I have no trouble believing this. Yeah.
And I don't know, and I haven't been there since. I want to fucking go back, actually. Yeah, I haven't been there since, but like I know that there was actually at one time at least somewhat reoccurring satanic occult
Right.
things happening there, which I think is very interesting because like you look this place up and it's, spooky ghost tour and this and that. It's like, no, that's not the scary part.
Right.
It's like that there's people like
There's a cult here.
yeah, and this is in a small town. Like, I don't know. It like that scares me because it's like, where are these people coming from?
Right.
Like, are they locals? Like,
Probably.
Like it's
Especially
just,
if it's happened more than once.
But yeah, like when we saw them, we were just super quiet and we dipped. Obviously did not say what's up, guys. How are you doing?
Right. No,
like
I'd be gone, man. I wouldn't. Maybe if I was armed.
yeah, it's
I'd be like, so what's going on here?
Like, if they would have been, like, kind of goofy, we might have talked to them. Like, if they're like,
Right.
chanting in a silly way.
Right.
But, like, when I looked at the fire and saw, like, just the silhouette of, like, a ram skull being burned, it was like, oh, God, we have to fucking get the fuck out of
this
here.
is like actual satanic shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not part of that. No, thank you.
Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, so that was creepy. If you guys have any, like, actual, like, that's not a paranormal experience, but if you have anything like that you want to talk about in the comments, we'd be happy to, read some of your stories and maybe even mention them in a future podcast or something. But I think that's going to wrap up our Halloween Spooktober episode. Any parting words of wisdom, Sam?
Actually, yeah, I have the wise words for dodo birds. As a delivery driver who has spent a lot of Halloweens delivering during the trick-or-treating hours to all drivers, anybody who's driving during the trick-or-treating hours, just watch out for little kids. They get excited, they run around. Sometimes they're already half hopped up on sugar, they run out in the street. It's frustrating. It's, there's seldom things more irritating than kids doing shit they shouldn't be doing. But I'll say just watch where you're driving, be careful so everybody can have fun and enjoy their Spooktoberfest.
Yeah. And if you are of the adult variety and going to go party and all that, make sure you bring an extra pair of leggings if you're in the north.
Yeah.
And don't drink too much alcohol because it will help you not feel the cold. And
right. Yeah, don't overdrink to stay. Yeah, that's another wise word. Don't overdrink to stay warm.
But I hope you guys all have fun this Halloween, and thank you for listening again. We're going to sign off, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.